This is John Gescheidmeyer of Wisconsin Real Estate Today, your real estate expert. This podcast is designed to equipping people with the teaching and tools they need to succeed in real estate. I hope you enjoy this episode and subscribe for more real estate content. Hello, everybody. John Gescheidmeyer, your host for Wisconsin Real Estate Today. Welcome to podcast number 1. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to speak to our listeners about a topic that I absolutely love, and that is real estate. I've been involved in real estate for about 24 years now, which seems a little crazy to me as I look back at everything. But let me tell you a little bit about what Wisconsin real estate is all about. So our podcast is designed really for anybody who is thinking about selling or buying or investing or exchanging or trading real estate, or even maybe somebody that's considering renting. We're going to go through a little bit of a menu of our topics coming up over the next many weeks as we put this podcast to work for you. But I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what really would be your takeaway, right? So if you're considering selling a home, this is a great place for you to be. This is a great place for you to learn about what you can do now to maximize the return on investment, whether it's your personal home or a rental property. And we're going to teach you all the teachings and tools that you need to be successful in this very sometimes unforgiving market we call real estate. And then if you're thinking about buying a home, well, that can be a scary thing if you've ever done that before. I've got a team of agents that we're going to join. They'll join us during this podcast at different parts, and we'll teach you everything you need to know about buying a home. We're going to have industry experts that will join us on our podcast as well to teach you a little bit about what you need to keep yourself out of danger. But of course, the bottom line is no matter if you're buying or selling, we are here to make that experience a little more enjoyable by giving you the knowledge and, like I said, the teaching and tools to succeed. So let me tell you a little bit about your host. So John Gescheidmeyer, yes, I know that is probably not a common name. Gescheidmeyer stands for, to me, integrity and protecting you. And my tagline is protecting you. And we'll talk a little bit about our Protecting Hero program in a little bit as well that kind of further exemplifies that. But in the meantime, I wanted to tell you a little bit about me. So when I was 16, I started on the fry station at McDonald's. And people laugh when I tell that story, but I'll tell you, when I turned 18 and they made me do this whole manager thing there, it taught me a lot about taking care of people and customer service and systems in a business. And I use those lessons today more than I ever thought that I would, for sure. I went to the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater for my marketing degree. Eventually, I would get my master's degree in management, but I decided to go a different route. So when I was 19, I joined the fire department locally in Pewaukee, where I grew up. And boy, that changed my life. And getting paged out on a call, a medical emergency at 2 a.m, isn't something that people normally like to do, but I loved it. And I got the opportunity to really learn firsthand what it's like to help people. From there, I went into law enforcement and I ended up in the city of Glendale, where I spent 20 years. And I loved working there because, for one, it was on the northern side of Milwaukee. It was a very busy city, very good city, but a very busy city. And I got to do so many different things. I was a dare officer for a while. I was assigned to our schools for almost a decade. And I really enjoyed helping kids and helping people learn about, the right way to do things, right? Well, from there, I got a chance to really do a lot of teaching and presenting. At one time, I taught for 7 different tech colleges in the state of Wisconsin. And that was pretty cool because I got a chance to educate a lot of people, from not only law enforcement officers, but paramedics and teachers and educators and a whole bunch of other people. But I knew that being a police officer, I would not make a ton of money, and I was okay with that. So in 1994, I started buying some rental properties, and at the same time, I would manage properties on the east side of Milwaukee. Now that presented some interesting things for me because, I'd never done that before. But I learned how to do it. I attended some landlord classes, so I could really be of value to the few clients that I had. But I started to be a landlord, And fast forward 24 years later, I'm selling my last property. I'm just turning it over to somebody else to do. So I've given it my time. It's been very good, very lucrative to me. And we'll talk about investment properties in a subsequent podcast. But today, I'm a broker owner of a growing company in Waukesha County. We're in the town of Brookfield, or Waukesha, we like to call it. And the company that I own is REMAX Service First. And we'll talk a little bit about why I named my company Service First. Because of my background in public safety, I knew firsthand that I had to just do something to continue to help people. So rather than respond to emergencies and being in rather dangerous situations at times, I decided that it was time to kind of throw that shingle out there. So about 8 years ago, I became a real estate agent, and I just absolutely loved it and continue to love it to this day. It's not a job for anybody, or for everybody, I should say. It takes a ton of time, and I know a lot of listeners out there might think, well, what does it take to really sell real estate? I mean, you guys just open the doors and you let people in and you point them to the kitchen and you talk about remodeling. Stay tuned and subscribe to this podcast because there is so much information that I'm going to be able to give you along with my guests. There is a lot that we do to try to keep you out of harm's way. My tagline is protecting you. So if you happen to see me somewhere in a coffee shop with my laptop, on the outside of my laptop, I've got a decal with my photo on it, our company logo, and it says protecting you below that. I take that very seriously. Speaking of protecting you, we also have a Protecting Heroes program. You're going to hear a ton more about that in subsequent podcasts as well. The Protecting Heroes program is designed for our hometown heroes and helping them either save money when they sell a home or giving them a reward when they buy a home. So we give 25% of our commission back to our heroes at closing. They don't have to wait for a check like with other national companies. And I started this program many years ago and giving discounts to our heroes because I just thought it was the right thing to do. Now it's kind of trendy, right? If you're in the military or a veteran, and it's so refreshing to be in a restaurant or hear people talk to somebody that's wearing something that would signify that they are, or I should say, signify that they're, a veteran. And it's just nice to hear finally people saying on a regular basis, "Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for your service." Well, I've been doing this since I got my license 8 years ago. And even though I've been blessed to sell over 500 homes since that time, you're only as good as the last one, right? So we don't brag very often and we don't brag very long when it comes to what we do in real estate because we're on to the next one. Kind of like going to calls as a police officer. You do what you can, you move that complaint or whatever to the district attorney, and you're on to the next call. So let's talk a little bit about what to expect. Of course, we're going to talk more about our Protecting Heroes program very soon in subsequent podcasts. So make sure that you subscribe. And boy, I'd really appreciate it if you told other people about the podcast too, especially being newer, especially being something that is actually relatively rare in the metro Milwaukee area. I'd love for you to spread the word. And by all means, if you have feedback or if there's something that you want us to cover, that's what we're here for. This is for you guys. All right, so for our consumers, we're going to have a segment called "I'm Thinking About Selling. Now What?" There's so many things that go into selling a property and preparing for that. Many times people wake up and they say, hon, I think it's time. I think it's time that we maybe go move to somewhere else. Maybe, and I like to tell my agents too that every day somebody is born. Every day, unfortunately, somebody passes away. Every day somebody gets married. Every day somebody decides to part ways. Every day people wake up and they say, this house is too small. And every day somebody wakes up and says, this house is way too big. The kids are gone. It's time for us to move on and to downsize. Our life changes, right? And real estate has to change with that as well. We're going to talk about all the challenges when selling, but remember that real estate is a 24/7 business. We operate 365 or 366 days a year. And it's not all that often that I don't work every single day, even on holidays, because things don't, unfortunately, wait. Trust me, we teach balance. And if you're one of our clients, we're going to talk about balance as well. and the fact that we're going to work really, really hard for you, but we also have families, and that's something we take very seriously. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about selling, how to prepare, what to do, the best time of the year. You need to know what's happening quarterly as far as projections and sales, and you need to know how to stage your property. So we're going to talk about all those things. I like a couple of these probably more than anything. And you might say, well, John, why are you going to talk about this? But one of my segments is going to be on why you as the seller or you as the buyer need to understand the offer of purchase. Well, yeah, you're hiring a realtor, right? And so you're going to rely on them to kind of handle all the details. But we do everything as a team here, and you're part of our team. And as our team member, our teammate, you've got to know a couple things or two. So we're going to educate you on that as well. I've got a segment that's going to come up. It's going to talk a little bit about what do I do if I'm in a relationship now, a contract with a realtor, and I don't think they're very good. We'll talk about that. I'll give you some suggestions. Believe it or not, as a real estate broker owner of a company that employs, a couple agents, we have a few. I'm going to teach you how to sell your house yourself, and that may seem crazy, but I'll let you decide on how to do it. So we'll definitely cover that. And then I want to talk a little bit about the difference in companies. There are differences in some of these companies for sure, and it's very difficult to pick a good realtor. So one of my segments is going to be why you should never pick a realtor from a sign. We put those signs in the front yard so we can get visibility. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But believe it or not, only 7% of people said they bought homes from a sign. So we'll talk about how to pick a company, how to avoid problems and issues, and we'll talk about the truth with some other different limited service companies. And we will never name companies. There's some really awesome realtors out there from different companies, including limited service companies, but we're going to talk about the truth. And then we are going to talk about how it's all about the money. It's about the money when you sell, but it is also about the terms. You might accept an offer if you have competing offers, multiple offers scenarios. You may decide to take less money for better terms. And so we'll talk about that as well. There's a lot of myths about selling in fall and winter here in Wisconsin. And if you're in the Midwest and you're listening to this podcast, you don't have to be in Wisconsin. You could be in Michigan, Minnesota, the Dakotas. You could be in Canada. I mean, it wouldn't matter. You could be in the upper Midwest or East Coast. Where you have weather, you'll have seasonal differences. And so we'll talk about those. So I also don't want you to choose an agent at an open house. We will have a podcast designed specifically for that. And then I'm going to bring some builder friends of mine in, and we're going to do a podcast on how to build, when to build, or to build or not to build. As shrinking inventory continues to be an issue, and I believe that it will over the next several years, and affordability becomes an issue too, we're going to talk about whether or not it would be wise for you to build. So I'm also going to teach you some tricks that never benefit the seller that realtors try to pull. I am a dead honest guy. I am as transparent as they come, and I'm going to teach you what to look out for. And when a realtor says to you, well, we're not going to list on Zillow, or can you just give me like 3 days to list this within my own company, I'm going to teach you that that's not necessarily best for you. All I care about is looking out for your best interest. That's what this podcast is about. We are going to talk a little bit about innovative selling methods, how to just think differently when it comes to marketing a property. And then why photos are literally everything. Now, we use 3D photography, we do virtual tours, and yes, that does involve spending some money. I look at it this way. I'm really good at taking photos and I'm really good at editing those, but I can only go so far. I'm not a professional, but I understand angles. And so I'm going to teach you why photos are everything. And it's all about lighting and angles, and what not to photograph is oftentimes more important than what to photograph. So what do you do if you have multiple offers and you're selling? Well, that's a great scenario, isn't it? We're going to talk about those. We're going to talk a little bit about radon gas, basement issues, exterior issues, some things related to home inspections and what home inspectors look for, some of the trends. We'll talk a little bit about home warranties And there's one topic that I really am excited to talk about. And unfortunately, I wish I could do all these podcasts immediately, but we're going to talk about selling with pets. So my wife pretty much makes the decisions in my house, and if you know me and my wife, then you know that's the absolute truth. And I think most men are probably in a similar scenario, but at least I admit it, right, guys? Well, let's talk a little bit about my house. So we have three rescue dogs. They're not small. I mean, I think the smallest one's about 45 pounds. Maybe they're all in that 45 to 55 range, but they're all rescues, and that's something very near and dear to my wife. So three dogs is a lot to handle, that's for sure. But when we moved 4.5 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was, I honestly didn't think about the pets as much as I'm going to teach you guys to. So we're partnering with the humane societies in our area to give you some best practices. And then we are going to put together a series of podcast segments and episodes where we talk about appraisals. We talk about what happens after an accepted offer. Boy, there's just so much stuff that we're going to cover. I want to tell you a little bit about my company and how I think we're different. And I think you're going to learn that if you subscribe to my content. But you know what? Podcasts are fun, they're educational, and they're a great way for us to give you the tools and the teachings that you need to succeed in real estate. And that's really all that this is about. I am so much looking forward to having fun and to giving you guys everything I possibly can. I'm going to open up my mind to you on what I think are some of the best things you can do and the things to avoid when we talk real estate. So if you're considering selling, if you're considering buying, if you're considering investing or trading or exchanging real estate, whether it's an investment property or commercial, we're going to talk all about that. Please, if you find this topics or these topics useful, subscribe. We will deliver some content regularly to you for sure. And boy, I really look forward to giving you everything that I can to make you successful. And like we said, to give you the teaching and the tools so you can succeed in real estate. That common spelling again is Gescheidmeyer. My name is John Gescheidmeyer, and I'll be your host for these podcasts and this series. I look forward to it, folks. Join us for episode number 2. That'll be coming up next. This session of Wisconsin Real Estate Today has come to a close. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast and let others know if you found this content useful. Until next time, make today your best day.